Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Spirit Society of Virginia. We're going to start today by reading a message from the Spirit Manual through Chico Xavier. Choices. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. John chapter 15, verse 10. Anyone who observes evil, and the remedy for evil in the world's testing grounds, is naturally induced to reflect on free thinking and the mutual resources that surround us. Let us look at some of them. If the stone one can hurt or injure as well as edify or sculpt, the individual is free to use fire in a variety of ways, such as extinguishing cold, warding off darkness, preparing its own food, conditioning matter, or destroying through fire. From morphine is extracted on earth the relief of the sick, or the dose of subtle poison that squanders the organic energies of those who indulge in drug abuse is also withdrawn. In the hands of humankind, money is work or golden inertia, education or imbalance, beneficence or stinginess, kindness or violence, prosperity or want. Atomic force is as likely to guarantee the luster of comfort in industry as it is capable of being wielded by slaughter and raising. So it also happens with the treasure of time, rigorously the same for all creatures, according to the criterion of eternal justice. The hour of the boss and the subordinate, of the cultured individual and the less cultured individual, of the person transiently more favored or less favored of material resources, is mathematically constituted of 60 minutes. Adding such a value to good or evil, improving conditions or aggravating problems in our own lives will always be a matter of attitude pertinent to ourselves.
Hi, friends. Let's pray. Feel the presence of God with us, right? Always. God is always with us, but are we with God always? No, right? Uh-oh, that's not good. We need to be with God always. So prayer is one of the ways. But is prayer the only way to be with God? No, Allison. What else can we do then to be with God always, besides praying? Yes, Leo. Yeah? Being good, Leo. You're going to say the same thing because you're twins, right? I know you match. Good, thank you. You think alike. Yes, doing the good. That's how we connect. Because God is always with us, but we need to be with God too. It's like parents and children. Parents are always, hopefully, around. But then the kids don't notice. And they go, Mom! And Mom was right there. Right? So that's how it is. So let us feel this presence of God with us. Thank you, dear Lord of life, for the gift of today. For the concession of this hour. For granting us the opportunity and the resources to be here. For the gift of health of our community. We don't want to take anything for granted. There are so many people in the world who would give the world to be here. And we want to send to these very people our loving care, whether they are connected to us online or not. May they feel what we're feeling, your presence, your embrace of kindness, and your healing treatment. At this moment, there are certainly people on earth who are starving or thirsty, not only for food and water, but also love. We pray that they feel loving vibrations enveloping them, taming the hunger and the thirst, and helping hands coming their way. Feeling your guidance and your protection. We are grateful for the permission you grant us to begin our therapeutic session today, and so be it. I think you guys are going to have a wonderful time with Miss Karen and Miss Daisy. You're going to love it, love it, love it. We'll see it later. Enjoy. Okay. As we told last week, every Sunday, we are dedicating ourselves to deeper studies. And we have been studying since the beginning of the year passages of Andre Luiz books. Because after Kardec's books, Emmanuel's books, Andre Luiz books become a complement to the foundation of Spiritism. Many people ask us, what kind of books should we read? Read the foundational books. Not because other mediums are not reliable, we don't need fantasies. Though our library has books, soon we'll be able to release, it has books from all different writers and spirits and mediums. But we always recommend the ones that we know that are reliable. And Andre Luiz books are not only reliable, but of all of them, they teach us exactly how we should look at life every day. Every book is like a bifocal lenses that we're putting on. He's teaching us to see material life and the spiritual life at the same time. At the same time, everywhere we go. Like the other day, Virginia was telling me a story about the situation in school, and she said, with her own words, "See, Mom, how the spirits are? The minute the teacher was giving the instructions that was important for that girl, the girl was not in the room. They found a way to take her out of the room." And she's really learning to see into worlds. Because that's how life is. To see things at school, at work, in the street, everywhere, in two realms is a saving grace. It's going to save our lives from trouble. Today, we're going to focus on a few chapters in the book Between Heaven and Earth. In Portuguese, Entre a Terra e o Céu. The original version came in Portuguese, so those who read Portuguese, read in the Portuguese version always, and then in English, because the translation always misses a few things. So it's good that you keep an eye and we keep it real. Today we're going to talk about family, blended families. On Fridays, we're studying life and sex. And in the book Life and Sex, we're talking about marriage, divorce, etc., etc. And then we're talking about blended families too, which is more common than we imagine. Nobody gets married to think that one day they're going to be with somebody else, with somebody else's children, but that's the scenario nowadays for many people. If it's not our case, it's the case of our children's friends, because they go to school and they say, my parents are divorced, they remarried, they have their step siblings, their step parents, and that's the reality for them as well, to know how to make sense of it and how to understand life. Today we're going to talk about this, and just to bridge between our session and the children's session, they will be studying there something, a story that was told through Chico Xavier for children. But it's going to be a teaser for us to enter the story of today. The spirit Neo Russo said that there was a spirit of darkness who wanted to do some evil things. So he thought of the children, how to inspire them to do crazy things. So he went from child to child, home to home. He entered this home and little Mark was helping his daughter. So because he was helping his daughter, he found no room to listen to the voice. He couldn't perceive, but the spirit of evil couldn't find room to incite him to it. Entered the house of little Mary. Little Mary was helping her mom, doing the dishes, which some parents feel like, I'm so guilty they have to help us because they should be playing. Think of the story again. Because little Mary was helping her mother doing the dishes. The spirit of evil didn't find room to enter her mind and incite her to do anything bad. From home to home, he found children who were doing their homework, who were helping the siblings, who were helping the parents, doing something useful. The spirit of darkness found no room to incite any child until they found, we'll do it nameless, okay? This ex-boy. He was idle, doing nothing. You know the children when they say, I'm bored? I'm so bored. That's the danger. The spirit of darkness came and said, let's do something exciting. Let's kill some birds. And he said, yes. He got his slingshot and went outside and killed lots of birds, especially those who were in a nest, waiting for the moms. How he did it, I don't know. That's the story, but he did it. And Neo Lucius said that from that day on, that's the most shocking part. From that day on, that boy kept being at the mercy of this spirit without noticing. And for years to come, he committed evil. Because of his idleness, laziness, boredom. 3 things we need to be very, very afraid of. When we feel like doing nothing, be careful. We are easy praise. Oh, but I worked so hard. I deserve to be all day long at the couch watching TV. Be careful, because the evil forces love that. So boredom, idleness, laziness. The children will be working on this material and more today, and the teens as well, to make sure, and we'll have solutions for that. They are going to build a mini book of solutions against boredom. So now your parents know. Go to your book. Mom, I'm bored. Go to your book. All right. So in that story, we're going to open a door in ourselves and ask, who are we? Because we think we're good people, right? We think we're good people. But one day, somebody turned to Master Jesus and said, good master. He said, Master, yes, I am, but good, only the Father. If Jesus is not good, how good can we be? But does that mean we're going to trash ourselves and feel the worst person? No. But we need to know who we are. Today, Paloma is going to tell us a true story. This is a true story of a woman who had very little self-awareness, to the point that she put herself in a very difficult situation that derived in guilt, remorse. Well, luckily we have a happy end, right? Because we are in God's universe. So there's always a happy end, but it may take a long time. Maybe sometimes another reincarnation, right, Paloma? So we'll see. Paloma is going to lead us into the story, and then we'll come back to talk about how we can adjust our self-awareness to avoid rerouting. Thank you, Vanessa. And we have to thank Andre Luiz for this book. A book that is about relationships. And where do we find the difficult relationships? Most likely in our homes. And we like to think that, our kids, and in this story, we're going to learn that, as we're talking about blended families, that the relationships might come and not be blood related. Nevertheless, still ours to fix, to be reunited. So Andre Luiz asks us to, when we look at this story, not to look with the material eyes, which means only the material body and only the current times. In Spiritism, they're always challenging us. Look in both realms, between heaven and earth, right? And also expand the time frame. 2,000, 3,000 years ago, whatever. How many millions of years that we've been reincarnating until to the point that we are now. But don't stop on the now. Stop and also look what's to come. Don't get stuck in the past, because we repeat over and over again. That doesn't help anybody. But the past helps us understand. Even when we look at difficult situations, which we perceive difficult, because we're still so materialistic, we look at situations in families, our families, other people's families, and we say, how come? Especially when it involves children. Why do children sometimes disincarnate so early? Why some children have to face diseases so early? Sometimes cancer, or sometimes a tragedy, which we're going to look at this story. So we're going to start by introducing some of the key characters. We have Amaro, the father, Evelina, a young teenage daughter, lost her mother, Odila. So Amaro then remarries Zumira. And Zumira, what she thought she loved her husband, she actually was very jealous of him in the time he was dedicating to his youngest child, a little boy called Julio. What happened to Julio? In the ocean, he ended up drowning at a young age. And Zumira, because of that jealousy, kind of neglected him and emanated actually such negative energies that after he disincarnated, what happened to her? She's being consumed by guilt. Guilt connected her to Odila, that is in the spiritual realm, obsessing Zulmira. So we start in pausing here. We talk a lot about obsession and what's happening in our families, why this happens. And we need to start pinpointing why. Guilt being a really big one. Shame, because it makes us kind of stuck. It crystallizes in our perispirit. A lot of times, from prior lives, it's still there. And then you come to this life and you face a situation that triggers that, and it all kind of comes back. It's almost like you can feel on your skin, even if you can't explain. You feel like, oh, that person, I don't feel good. And it's because it's bringing those memories from prior life. Zulmira gets so sick because of this guilt and these connections with Odila. The doctors can't explain, but she's really, really getting sick. In the spiritual realm, when she sleeps, look at the importance of sleep and being conscious, aware before we actually go to sleep. When she goes to sleep, she goes back to the very beach where Julio drowned. Keeps going back there. Keeps going back there. And who comes with her? Odila, following her everywhere, obsessing. This is a severe case of obsession to the point that Zulmira is losing her vital forces. This is critical. Because Zulmira has her duty. Why is Zulmira in this family? Why did she marry Amaro? Why did Julio and Evelina come back to her as stepchildren? And also, Odila not aware, but Odila is not seeing why is Zulmira in her kid's life. What is her role there? Julio, after drowning, wakes up in the spiritual realm. He is not well. He is not well. And we need to understand, how come did this happen to Julio? Okay, why does this happen to children? Why? And we look at them, and God is good. God gave us cute little babies so that it actually works on our heart. That's my best description. God gave us cute babies because when we look at them, it softens our hearts. To most of us, unless we are pathological cycles or something. But to most of us, we look at kids and we say, ah. But they have their lives before us. We were not always parents, grandparents, uncles, and aunts, whatever reason that child came to our lives. And they have a story. And this is where awareness is so important. We're very quick to look at somebody else's children and being able to almost profile them. Oh, I can see their issues, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to ours, that is a different case. We don't want to see the real spirit. And this is where Zulmira missed the boat. She looked at Julio and she only saw the material relationship with her husband, was jealous of his own child, missed the whole purpose of that reincarnation together. So we stop and think, am I missing the boat with my family? Are we able to truly look at our children and start to profile the spirit? Because all of us, we are not angels. We're here to learn how to be humans, not even angels. We're so far from angels, but we're here to learn how to be humans. So, are we helping our children when we're able to look at them and see, okay, I am identifying where they need help? And it's not about sending to the best schools. Of course, we have our obligation as parents for the intellectual education, for the culture, but that actually is weighs a lot less than the moral development, which is almost unheard on our planet to say, what are we doing to educate our children morally? We are quick to hire tutors. You need math tutor? Math tutor. You need chemistry tutor? Here you go. But you don't hear of moral tutors, right? You won't hear about it because that's supposed to be parents. That is our job. There's no way for us to hire that job out. So Julio has a story. He actually, in prior lives, had a commitment with somebody, had his heart broken. And the story is much bigger. You have to go read the book. But he tried to commit suicide by drinking poison, wasn't able to, threw himself in a river and drowned. So then he comes back in Zulmira's and Amaro's family, and he has to start repairing. So he drowns. Is it a sad event? Tragic. As a mother, I cannot imagine how hard that must be. But in the big scheme of life, that allowed to start of reparation. The beginning of reparation for that spirit, he had to sponge what he had done in prior life. So just beginning, huh? Because committing suicide is one of the worst things we could ever do, and it takes hundreds of years to come back from it. In that process, Odila, now in the spiritual realm, seeing her son also suffer, that starts to soften her heart. The mentors appear to her, and Odila finally, almost she can see clearly. She understands what she's doing to Zulmira is not helping. That Zulmira had a role and has a role in the family with Amaro and her daughter that is begging for help. Evelina is still there, needing her mother and her stepmother. She just lost her brother. So Odila finally can see the good mentors appear to her. She falls on her knees and understands. So thank goodness we all have help. So even in tragic situations that we perceive very hard, the good mentors are with us. Always helping and trying to find a way for us to actually see the real life. Because this is not the real life. The real life is back as a spirit. We're here just, in this body, but this goes away. Odila is allowed to see Julio And he, of course, when he sees his mother, this is in the spiritual realm. When he sees his mother, he is so touched by it. He complains to her, "Mom, my throat hurts." Because, of course, he drank the poison and then he drowned. And she is a mother. As a mother or a father, what would you do? What would you do? You'd go to the good mentors and say, "Help, help, 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 help. We need help." So, yes, good mentors from the Spirit Society of Virginia, help me, please. Because we want to also see clearly, like Ojila just had the opportunity, but we don't want to wait to discarnate. We want to do it now. We wish Zulmira had seen it before, instead of vibrating those negative feelings towards Julio, not helping during the drowning. So Ojila asked the good mentors, what can we do? And they're going to tell her, what do we do to repair? We have to reincarnate again. Point blank. So why do we reincarnate? Because we need to repair things from the past so we can move on. So then we stop and say, okay, my daughter, my son, they reincarnated here. Somebody in the spiritual realm helped plan this whole situation. What are we trying to repair? And then after that is, what are we supposed to do together to the good? Ojila says, who can receive Julio again? And it ends up being Zulmira. Zulmira is going to receive Julio now as a son. She's going to deliver Julio. And in that process, doesn't just happen, friends, like that, oh, suddenly somebody's pregnant and it just happened. No, it takes effort for that baby to be even allowed to reincarnate in somebody. So they're showing, they bring Julio. This is on the spiritual realm. Zulmira sleeping, which she thinks she's only sleeping, right? Like us, we go to sleep and we think our body's there, right? Like, oh, we slept, we woke up, we don't remember. But we're actually been traveling, doing whatever in the middle of the night. In her case, she's receiving treatment. She's being prepared to be a mother. They bring Julio to her. And of course, she asks for forgiveness. She now recognizes what she did. It was absolutely wrong. And she feels happy that God has allowed her to repair that relationship. He's going to be allowed to reincarnate through Zulmira. And Ojila is very happy that she's going to be the mother. They bring it to her. There is the embrace. Julio accepts this reincarnation. In another book of Andre Luiz, they actually talk about enemies having to repair relationships. I think it's on the messengers. And how that pregnancy sometimes is very hard. It wasn't hard with the mother, but the baby definitely had an impulse that was negative against the father because they were enemies. But nevertheless, they still have to repair. So they're going to come back. But in this case, reparation has already started. Zulmira accepts Julio. Julio accepts Zulmira. He's going to come back. They choose the name Julio again. So it starts getting very confusing because Julio shows up in many reincarnations with the same name, but Julio comes back. And remember, in the spiritual realm, Ojila picks him up and he complains, Mom, my throat hurts. In that reincarnation, he comes back with a problem on the throat. And then he's diagnosed with a severe disease, and he's going to discarnate once again. He has to repair not the drowning at this point, he has to repair the poison that he tried, wasn't successful, so he has to now repair that. But good news, it's once repaired, then that's gone. He has to move forward. So we have to always remind ourselves, as sad as it seems, and it's this child that's going through reparation so early in life, he is allowed reparation. He is allowed to come back over and over again to go through this process. Sometimes the spirit's in such a bad state of mind that even to reincarnate is very hard. They might be in the valley of suicides for hundreds of years. So Julio is being allowed to come back and start this process. So he ends up incarnating again. The father, of course, emanating so much love that Andre Luiz talks about all this radiation flowing through the baby, or Julio. Side note here, which we're not going to go into the story, but the doctor that was sent to help Julio, when he gets there, he feels an impact and very negative. He actually describes that doctor was vibrating very dark forces. Why? Because of the encounter with friends from prior lives where they were messing and then they ended up not being very friends to each other. So that's why the doctor over here, Mario, is crying, because once the baby, Julio, is incarnating, he also feels guilty. He was emanating all those feelings. And what's interesting about Mario's story is that he happened to be assigned to go see Julio in the process to try to help him with the disease. Why are we saying happened to be assigned? Because we understand there's no coincidence. So we might feel when we go and we meet somebody that is the first time we are encountering each other and we feel that impact. Most likely it's not the first encounter we've had. We've had many encounters with that person and we're still feeling it. And when we meet each other, it brings back those crystallizations from prior lives. It brings back those memories. Again, in the spiritual realm, Zumira visits Julio. With Odila there. Interesting, huh? Two mothers of the same child, Julio. But now the two mothers are reconciled. They are actually working together. And Julio is not in the same state he was when he disincarnated drowning. He now is a more tranquil baby. They are able to visit him. He's not complaining of all that pain. Why? Because that's gone. Done. It's over. So when we see diseases, and this is a practice which is very hard, I recognize, very hard. But when we see a child, and for example, in my neighborhood, there was a mom and a daughter, and they both had cancer at the same time, mom and daughter. And the daughter was only 2. And we're trying to find words to say, with the story. We're not going to say, I'm sorry. Are we sorry in the big scheme of life? No. We are thankful because that part of their lives is now gone. So we are not sorry. The same way when we go to a funeral and we're trying to find words to help the family, we are not sorry. We can find other words to help console, but that person has been allowed to go back home. Thanks to God. So no, we're not sorry. Very hard. I understand. Much easier said than done, especially if it's helping with us, for us to be able to see life beyond the body. Life beyond the body. And a recommendation, you can watch the movie, The Mothers of Chico Xavier, where he goes through some tragic events where the mothers lose their children for different reasons. And they go find Chico, which Chico consoled so many mothers. So many mothers. But nowhere there Chico's telling these mothers, I'm sorry. He's consoling, but he can see what's already happening on the other side. And to wrap up, Zulmira is allowed once again to be the way for Júlio to reincarnate. They went through guilt. They went from reparation from prior lives. He had to repair the acts of suicide that he attempted. And now, together, they are going to be reunited for love. That is what this story is about. Between heaven and earth brings to us this awareness that at the end of the story, whatever case is happening in our homes, the end goal is to reunite us to one another through love. Because love heals a multitude of sins. Jesus told us that. He does. Or Paul. This is a wonderful story because no family is perfect. Even if you try to be by yourself and say, I forget about my family, I'm going to live by myself, even then you're thinking of your family. I guarantee that there's nobody that can say, I'm far away, I don't care, and you're still caring because we cannot disconnect from the people that we are supposed to be connected. God said you have to go there. Most likely, we were the ones that caused all the mess in that family, and now we have to go back and repair. Through pain and through love. Both ways are acceptable. It really depends on us. So we thank Andre Luiz and Chico Xavier because it's true consolation for us to understand that no matter the mistake, we are not doomed. We always have the chance to do more, to do better, and there are so many tools out there for us. What do? We say help. Listening to a study of the gospel, they were saying that We don't know how to ask for help. We don't know. When we need help, we're actually quiet for whatever reason. Maybe we are feeling guilty. We're doubting ourselves. We are, shaming ourselves. How come I didn't see this in my child? But nevertheless, we need to just raise our hand, help. And they already know what we need. They're just waiting for us to say help. And they're like, whoop, we're there. But the good spirits cannot impose on us. Why? We have free will. They cannot come to Paloma and say, Paloma, your child needs this. They might give us a reading. Hey, how about you talk about between heaven and earth, Paloma? Why? Why did this message come today to our hands? Maybe I needed it. Maybe I'm the one that needs to say help. Because the good spirits are saying, we're here. Read it, study it, feel it, and take action. So for all of us, including our friends from the internet, there is help. And you can find it here, the Spirit Society of Virginia, Kardec Radio. You're not by yourself. None of us are. There is so much that can be done. Send an email, reach out, study, read more, and be closer to your family. Open our eyes to actually seeing the spirit, not the cute child. They are cute, adorable. We love them. But we have to look at the spirit. All right, so that's the message for us. And I'll pass it back to Denise.
So Paloma is reminding us of the choices we make, right? Choice to ask for help as well. And to go back, the children inside were just going through the story and they had a blast. Yeah. But for us, we have a little more. As now they are working on learning self-knowledge. Okay, hold on, friends. Why did Zulmira fail? She didn't know herself. She didn't know. How often, we were asking the children, how often you have ideas that are bad? And then they say, yes, I recognize sometimes the bad ideas come to my mind. And you see the spirit of darkness in the stories like that. It's not a voice, it's an idea. But how do you know to distinguish? When do we know how to find help? Because we always wait for a tragedy, a disaster to ask for help. But we shouldn't. We need to ask for help when we already detect the threat that is coming to our lives to prevent the escalation of it. So in the Spirit's book by Kardec, when you start questions 900 and onwards, we'll see a lot of food for thought solutions. If Zulmira knew who she was, she wouldn't. She would care for that spirit, whether that spirit was her biological child or not. This chapter is a chapter that should be given, these chapters, to all the moms who are struggling to be parents and they can't be biologically, and they think, I don't want to adopt. This chapter is, there's no difference. Julio had to be under your care. whether you are biological mom or not. Yes, the end is happy, but the suffering goes on. Who knows? She doesn't know that the son she has is Julia reincarnated. She doesn't know. The guilt that she used to feel or the remorse is not over. It's not over. So we need to know who we are. When Kardec asked, what is the most effective means for self-improvement and to resist the draw of evil? What is the most effective means? People would say, prayer, reading good books, doing good actions, right? What did the good spirits answer? In one line. In one line. Question and answer 919. Self-knowledge. That's it. There's not even a picture to portray this. Self-knowledge. If we want to resist the draw of evil, we need to know. That's what we were discussing with the children. One of them said, oh, it's our inner conscience. Yes. So you need to know who you are. We need to know who we are. Do we know who we are? No. If we say yes, it's not true. We don't. We're getting to know of ourselves. We may know a little bit of ourselves today. Today we were asking the kids, what is your size? What size do you wear? Many of them said, I don't know. We may answer, I don't know anymore, because we change sizes every now and then, right? But we don't know. Who are we? We need to know who we are. And even the food that is good for us and that is bad for us, this is self-knowledge. This is self-knowledge. The kind of exercise that we need, the type of blood we have, it can save lives. This is not something vain. Do we know? We don't. Do we know how our pregnancy was in our mom's belly? Do you know? Have you ever talked? No. See, that's so important to understand more of you in this life. How was it? Talk to your parents or grandparents if you have them around and ask, how was it? Do we know a little bit of us? Then we will decipher a lot of enigmas today. And we'll improve ourselves because we see lots of things we're carrying with us without noticing from our families. And then we make connections. And that's how we can resist the repeat of the same mistakes. How many parents I know made mistakes? They look at their children, they say, I'm never going to tell them that I made this mistake. They think the children will never know. But first they knew because probably it was before they reincarnated, they were seeing it. Maybe they even participated. They know, they will know, and they probably will repeat. Probably because they are part of it. But if you don't tell them at the right time, of course, then they will repeat. That's why we say secrets in the family are not good. Because we tend to repeat without noticing. Somebody will. So we need to know who we are. We need to know our family secrets. We're not going to bother anyone with it if it bothers anybody. But if it doesn't, we need to know. We need to know in this life and previous lives. How do we know who we were in previous lives? Kardec asked this question. And the answer of the Spirit said, observe your instinctive tendencies. Like what? Our jealousy, like Zulmira. There is a past life history there that is creating that current scenario. So we need to know who we are. Sometimes the people who are closest to us, they know exactly the points that we are falling short and we don't recognize. So our goal is to be more spiritual, less materialistic, right? Yes. Kardec asked this question. What can we do to be less materialistic, more spiritual, to be less attached to matter? And again, they talk about self-denial. The practice of self-denial. Now, we need to brainstorm. What is self-denial?
Feed your dog before you feed yourself.
Yes, that's a good point. What else?
Always doing something for somebody else before you worry about yourself, no matter what.
So self-denial is forgetting about yourself.
Well, not totally, but
Well, it says self-denial. It says totally. It says totally. Self-denial, there's no half, 50%, 70%. Jesus taught us 100% self-denial. The martyrdom is the proof that you forget yourself. That's what it says. Self-denial doesn't say 50% self-denial. It says 100%. Many problems in our relationships occur because we're being selfish, which is the opposite of selflessness. When we think of ourselves first, oh, but right now, and we need to teach our children, right now, you forget about yourself as well, for the benefit of everybody. How often our children say, Mom, I'm hungry. I heard it in the room. That's a good practice for self-denial. Well, forget your hunger then. You're not gonna die not eating the next hour. So it's good to tell our children, forget about it, control yourself, contain yourself, be frustrated, because in life we'll be frustrated 1,000,000 times. And all the good pediatricians and psychologists, they say, if children are not frustrated, they will not be raised into balanced adults. So don't give everything to the children. Don't do everything they want. Restraining, containing is very important. And that's what we need to learn. Less me, less my, less mine. If I spend, take a piece of paper. If I write down my current thoughts in a daily basis, how much the me, my, mine is there? Scarier, probably 100% of it. My bills, well, they are mine. My household chores, mine. Nobody else's, right? So my family, my children, my this, my that. That's where we fail. Because we stay 100% in self-affirmation instead of the opposite. We're not going to evolve. All the books say it. And reasoning says it makes sense. Because the minute we spend thinking of ourselves, we're telling the world, I'm more important than you. That doesn't mean we're not going to go home and take care of our family. We're not going to pay our bills. But we cannot spend our whole day thinking about our families. Every week in our practice, the professional practice, I find people who care well for their families. They're doing well. They work out, they take care of their families, but they are not fulfilled. Why?
because in selfishness, we'll never be fulfilled. We'll never be happy. When do we shift the game? So to march to the end, because the children are finishing their little book. So this is, I know it's a little bit of too much, but we need to reinforce this. We borrowed this diagram from the doctor, the psychiatrist, Eric Burns' understanding of how we structure our minds in 3 ego states. Ego states doesn't mean the ego that we talk about in the streets, like selfishness. Talks about the organization of the mind, of the personality. He says we have a parent inside of our minds. This parent is the behaviors, thoughts, feelings that are from parents or teachers, parental figures like grandparents. The adult in us is anything that is related to the here and now, that is about reasoning, that is about logical and facts. And the child in us is anything that is replayed, emotions usually, but not only behaviors, etc., from childhood, and we spiritists would say from previous lives as well. All 3 can be combined with previous lives. What does he have to do with what we're saying? Kardec talks to the adult in us. Only the adult can know themselves. If I say to the child Lucy, who are you? She can't say it. If I say to the spirit Lucy, she may reply, but I don't get it, because she may understand spirit to spirit, but the physical cannot process. But in another level, we can get to know of ourselves. We can have self-regulation to deny ourselves and know that we're going to be well, even though I'm not putting myself first. Only the adult can do this. The child in us is always going to say, but what about me? You forgot about that? The voice, this voice is the voice of the child. Is the voice of the child. We may have a parent that is nurturing or critical. You know those people who are very nurturing? They come and they console and they embrace. Their inner parent is nurturing. And some other people is very critical. No, 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 no. You did it wrong. That's bad. You're not thinking straight. You're stupid. You're this. You're that. That's the critical parent. The adult in us stay in the present, and the inner child, we need to evaluate how our inner child is doing. Zulmira was playing her inner child. She was jealous. I want the attention from you. I don't want to share stage with you. The inner child in Zulmira was not free, was not adapted. The inner child was rebellious. So rebellious that she wanted to kill. Whenever you see people who play like tantrums, I'm not going to talk to you, that's the inner child in us that is rebellious. No, well. But our model is Jesus. He had the nurturing inside of him. He had the child. He knew how to have fun and smile, to the point that people would think he was like a drunkard, that he was a free spirit. But he was the adult. He's our model of the adult. The adult that knows how to contain himself to think of others. He's by the cross, all hurt, and yet his inner adult is so strong that he's able to keep this child free and still nurture the mother, the inner nurturing parent in him, saying, Mother, here's your child. Child, here's your mother. Son and mother. John and Mother Mary. He was still able to nurture. He's still able to understand rationally everything and say, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. This is the adult.
It's when you see your spouse stepping out of the line and you say, Father, forgive him or her because he or she doesn't know what they're doing. Because the day they wake up, they will feel such remorse. You don't want to be in their skin. It's when a politician is going completely off. And you say, I'm not going to be upset. I'm going to pray because when he or she realizes, they're going to regret to the point they don't know how to look at the mirror any longer. Because we have to face the consequences of our actions. But only the adult can think this way. Zulmira failed because she had no self-awareness. She was selfish. Her inner child was not there. So today, we are being empowered to observe more of Jesus as our model and take care of this inner child in us that's sometimes not feeling well. And know how to console this inner child in us. And how to stay rational. Rational doesn't mean not loving, because love is of a rational mind. Because irrationals cannot love. Animals cannot love. It takes a lot of reasoning to love. And it takes good emotions to reason life. It's been only an hour that we've been reflecting on this since Paloma and I started. In 1 hour only, we covered a topic that may change our lives. The brain can only change if we expose it to a certain stimulus repetitively, repeatedly. If we don't look at our model every day, all the time, we won't be able to shift the inner. I need to go to the gym often or to exercise often to see muscle building. We won't get out of our selfishness. We won't enter selflessness if we don't watch our model closely. That's why those books come at hand. So we can often see this is the target, and that's where we go, not the store. Not the store. The target inside. We need Jesus. Not the store, but Jesus is our model. Don't look at anybody but Jesus. Nobody on earth. If somebody says, I'm so disappointed because I had this person in high regard, and they voted for this person. Sorry, for a spiritist, he's the model. Nobody else. Don't be frustrated with anybody. It's not fair to put anybody in a pedestal because nobody is. But Jesus is. Not because he wanted, but because he made himself into it. So let us look at him and get out of our materialistic way of being, denying ourselves. Don't listen to society that says, take more care of yourself. Not in their way, in his way. Take care of yourself, loving more, forgetting about your needs. You're tired and you go home, think of your family members first. First, but I'm hungry. They are hungry too. And we tell our children, I'm hungry, Mom. Me too. We are hungry. So let's do something together. So they start practicing it. If we say, don't worry, I'm already fixing it, then we're just saying, keep being selfish. And we're investing in their selfishness. Oh, I need the new clothes because it's school day. Well, I do too. But I don't know if we can make it now. We'll see. So we need to reason together and strengthen the adult in our children, in our grandchildren, as we need to strengthen in us. And that's our message for today. As we look at Jesus, the Prince of Peace, that's our goal. Imagine the day we get there. The day we get there, we'll feel no pain, no suffering. You don't have to pay bills anymore. Can you imagine that day? No bills to pay. No hurt in the body anymore because you don't need a physical body anymore. You're not restricted to anything. You're not limited. You're unlimited with love. So we need to dream of this day, day in, day out. That's our dream. Not the next car. Christmas is coming. Hold your horses. The next car, the next house, the next clothes, the next days, and then 10,000 bills that come after. Hold it. If you have friends who are always talking about things to buy that they bought, that they did, I hear crazy stories. And I say, God, please, close my ears. This is not real. I don't need this trip. I don't need this car. I don't need this. I'm not going to convince myself that I do, because I don't. I need better friends. Yes. Because you become what you're surrounded with. Better friends. Better company that is stimulating the real and important life in us. We'll be in the world, but not of the world. We'll be there to help, but not to be deceived. We'll be there to rescue, but not one more person to be rescued. We're being asked for a task force. It's a task force in the good, wherever we are. Being instruments of the good. And that's what Jesus is telling us. Let's be instruments of the good. Don't know what to do during the day? Do something good for somebody. Call the next door shelter. Ask them what they need, because every time I call, they need something. Never I called and said, we have everything. Never. No shelter here in Maryland that we called in DC. Never. They said, no, we're good, we're covered. They always say, oh yeah, we have a lot of things. Every organization. But they are hidden. We need to go after them. And do a family project. For our Thanksgiving, the good spirits are reinforcing. Do a family project. Do something for others. And then have a meal after. And then have a meal after. But do something for people who are in need, because there are many people who are in need. That's a good practice of self-denial. So we won't enter the traps of jealousy, of hatred, of selfishness, like Zumira did. Thank God she woke up, knew, realized that she was doing wrong, and there was a way to turn it around, but sometimes only next reincarnation, or reincarnations to come. We don't know. So the message is of choices that we can make today. I think now we're ready for the passes, right? Unless somebody wants to ask a question or make a point before we go on.
What are the two chapters in the book?
There are many chapters. I can show you the book. I have the book right here. There are many chapters, right?
You took it from many, okay.
Many chapters.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the
I
reference.
remember the story, but
Yeah.
Because it covers the story across many, many chapters.
Yes. So it's 37 is the readjustment,
yes.
but then it's like, I think it starts 34, 35, and it goes on. Thank you for asking. Good. Anybody else would like to ask or comment? Yeah, good. You
Well,
wanna ask?
that was just, you know, is that an Akiani picture?
Yes, this is Akiani's painting.
Might change. It's such a good idea to have that on your phone as a background.
Yes, that's a good idea to have it in. The Prince of Peace, she calls it.
Prince of Peace.
Prince of Peace. So it's good to look at Jesus and see, could we ever look at him in the eyes of truth? Probably will be hard. I remember once being at the Mansion of the Way and sitting at the garden they call Joana de Angelis Garden. I sat down by myself. I had a feeling, I had the mirror in front of me. I said, man, when you get closer to these good spirits, it's hard to look at yourself. It's hard. But that's a practice we need to do every day. When we say, I don't want to think about it, no, we want to think about it. Today, not to create a worried mind, but to find relief and solutions today, because the day we depart, we'll have to face it. Can't sleep. A glass of wine, a bottle of wine, a party, $10 billion in the account is not going to soothe the pain of guilt, of remorse, of shame in any way. We need to turn it around today. Today. Make all the things that still poke hurts in us, solve it today. The beauty of it all is that we tell our stories. Jesus came to Mary Magdalene and said, you can turn it around today. Paloma said the very sentence. Love covers a multitude of mistakes. He didn't say how, but she was empowered and she shifted. She denied herself and cared for those that nobody wanted to care for. She got sick, discarnated, but ascended. Ascended. Our goal is not to be healthy here, it's to be healthy immortally. Right? As we're marching towards this encounter with Jesus, let us then do the passes. We'll do the passes now. I think the children have finished the workbook. We'll do the passes. And then the final prayer, okay? We'll turn off the lights.
us all. Raise our thoughts even more. Visualizing Master Jesus with us. He's the loving and kind doctor of all of us. He knows our needs. He has the remedies. Let us just trust His loving care. Let us visualize Mother Mary with us. Her loving and kind maternal approach, delivering everything that we need to strengthen ourselves and to keep on fulfilling our daily tasks that were assigned by God. Let us feel the illuminated hands of the spirit doctors, nurses, and therapists applying onto us the remedies and the energy medicine that we need for our deep balance. Let us trust their loving care and surrender to it completely.
Não, não quer. Let us visualize our friend, best friend Jesus with us. And his illuminated hands. He knows exactly what we need to make us strong and protected. Let us feel it. Aqui, deixa eu ver. So this is a good time to help. Since everybody's here, we can help by sending our best energies to everyone who's in the room, also the discarnates.
Let us visualize a light of love enveloping us, illuminating us, mind and bodies. Let us help one another by visualizing Jesus with us.
Vivi.
Alright, so let us feel how much the loving and kind spirits love us. Some of us are not in the body of children, but to them, we are their children. They love us and they care for us. Let us feel their presence pouring onto us the energy that we need to be stronger, to be protected. Let us feel it.
Let us now continue visualizing Master Jesus in front of us. Dear loving Master, we feel so grateful to be here tonight in this blessed place on earth. We feel humbled to have the opportunity to be in this place of light, learning about your promised consoler that brings so much hope to our hearts. We thank for the kind and benevolent mentors who take care of each and every one of us. And we pray for those in both realms who are still going through deep suffering, those who feel desperate, those who feel there is no way out. And we also pray for those who are still working against the forces of the good on earth. We pray that they can feel your invitation, to feel your love, and that all of us, we can fulfill our commitment with you to love all those in our lives, that we were reunited to learn how to love, how to care, to how to be understandable and kind. We pray for those who are still blind and cannot see, that you, Master Jesus, is the way, the truth, and the light in our hearts. And with much gratitude in our hearts for this moment, we ask for your permission to close this study session of today, and so be it. Friends over the internet, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful evening whenever you are, and we will see you here soon again. Thank you.